The whole world will be watching. We can't afford to lose to the Russians. We need to shoot a backup version of the moon landing.
It's 1969, and America is caught up in the great space race versus the Soviet Union. And a New York marketing exec is brought in to rehabilitate NASA's image because America was losing a little bit of faith in the program because of things like Vietnam and other things that were drawing their attention, and people didn't think we were necessarily going to make it to the moon by the end of the decade. And so Kelly Jones, played by the wonderful Scarlett Johansson, is brought in to rehabilitate their image, and is told halfway through the movie by her government handler that actually now you have to work on the fake moon landing while everyone else is working on the real moon landing. And so that's sort of what it's about. When you work with stars of this magnitude, who are stars for a reason, you know that they each have a filmic element that, like, you know, that most people don't have. But you do wonder, like, until they're in a room together and I'm watching them act together, do they have chemistry that makes me want to go, oh, what's going to happen, you know, for them? And I knew from our first rehearsal, we did about 3-4 days of rehearsal, and because I wanted everybody to be comfortable with the script, and a lot of things come up in the rehearsal process that you don't then have to figure out on the day when you've got limited light or limited time, and they were so inventive and fun with each other. And it really did give, it was, as the young people say, it was giving Rock Hudson and Doris Day. It was giving Spencer Tracy and Hepburn. And I think because they're each their own brand of comedy and their own brand of drama, but they really fit well together. And you would, in a million, it's sort of, in a million years, you may never put the two of them together, but then after they're together, you're like, of course. And I think they have that quality, and it was just fun it was exciting to see what was going to happen every day. And then again, my job just becomes about, don't let them bump into furniture, and just make sure that everybody's, just enjoying themselves. Kelly's played by Scarlett Johansson, and Kelly is, whip smart New York marketing exec with a bit of a past. We don't know what that is. And she is brought in by Mo, who's a government agency, a government shadowy person, played by Woody Harrelson, and he's brought her in to rehabilitate the image for NASA. And in doing that, she conceives of this possibility of how to fake the moon landing. And so you have really, it's the center of it, you have this love story that's happening between a man working on the real moon landing and a woman working on the fake moon landing at the same time. Cole is played by Channing Tatum, and he is a true blue Americana, a man who's served his country his entire life, and is part of that, represents so much of the 500,000 Americans that worked on the Apollo mission. And they couldn't afford to make a single mistake or a single error. And he was, in his time, really representative of the people that were focused just on the mission and not on the sales part of it. But what I always like to sort of say about the Apollo mission at the time was it took both. It took a bullshit artist, when Kennedy said we're going to the moon, like there was no evidence that we could get there in the decade, but he believed, and then it took the individuals that worked every day inside and out to achieve that dream. And so he represents obviously the truth, and represents integrity and belief in what people are actually capable of. We have Ruby, Kelly's assistant, Anna, and she's her woman de camp, like her sidekick, but is also really representative of young people in that era who are, I think, a lot like the young people today, who want to change things, who feel like the old ways don't work. And so she's a breath of fresh air, I think, going in, and is emotionally there for Kelly throughout. And she sees the change in Kelly, I think, the most, and is on that journey with her. And I think she adores and respects her boss so much but then also sort of sees the price of the lie that they're working on together. And then Jim Rash plays Lance Vespertine, who's the director of the fake moon landing. He's brought in by Kelly, and he's, I think, very representative of probably a lot of directors. Maybe some people thought that there were some similarities between myself and him, but certainly from a lot of individuals I've met in the business through the years, who are more high-strung, but very talented, and has a real vision for how to pull it off. Part of the fun of the movie was we weren't just having to we weren't trying to just make fun of faking the moon landing, but really trying to envision how is that possible in 1969 with 1969 technology. And so a lot of the conversations we were having as filmmakers working on the movie, our characters had to have. So, and Jim is, he's an amazing improv artist also, so he was able to generate stuff off the cuff that I would just try and capture on a regular basis, and we would spitball with each other in that way. Woody Harrelson plays Mo. Obviously Woody's an icon. He can do. Mo has the true kind of you have to adore him at first, and then there's a twist to his character, later in the picture, and then you have to like him again by the end. So in imagining what actor could set the stakes for a movie like this of this size, and also still make you have a sort of fiendish element, but also a funny element, and be so likable throughout it. There's really almost no one other than Woody Harrelson that could pull off something like that, and I think he just does it brilliantly. He's one of the great actors of his generation. And then there's Ray Romano, who I pursued heavily to play Henry in this. I've always wanted to work with Ray. I think he represents so many of the people who also worked on the program, like everyday Americans, and he's so much the heart and soul, I think, of NASA in this. And he's very much a father figure to Channing's character, and their interplay, I think, just gives a real dynamic element to both of those people as well. For years now, I feel like everyone has been asking for more original stories, and rather than just sequels or things based on other things. And so from the outset, when Scarlett was throwing her weight as a producer and an actor behind this original story, I was so excited to be a part of it. And I really think the rewards for the audience of when I was growing up, every weekend you could go to a movie where you didn't know what was going to happen, and I think the ability to go in, experience this, take a trip back in time, and finally, I think the element of the big screenness of it is the event of what was accomplished at that time. And it wasn't, red or blue. It was everyone working together. And I think to be reminded of, a friend of mine said to me, it's after seeing it, it's the kind of movie we used to make about the kinds of things we used to do. And I feel like that's how I feel about the film. I wanted, this nation to be a part of doing more impossible things. And so we made a fun movie about that hopefully will entertain people.